Jenny Gilmore, it's another episode of I or Not, new series. Did you see the first episode? Bet you did, mate.
No.
Oh, dedication. So basically, this is the first episode where it's not a set thing put by me, like I chose to do the Dunfermline squad in the first episode. This one, I asked you lot the other day to just send me on Instagram a load of different SPFL players. I received 56, I believe, so for upcoming episodes will be random players chosen for each episode from that list. And Jenny here is going to choose 10 random numbers between 1 and 56. So, go.
2, 16, 25, 31, 40, 45, 13, 50, 21 and 56.
So go have a look at the list and then you'll see me in a couple of seconds through in that room away to film. Right lads, here we are. We've got the names, we've got the players that we're going to talk about. Let's get straight into it. Let's no pussyfoot about here. This is I or No, episode 2. First player up is from the Scottish Championship, Alloa Athletic, Ian Flanagan. My thoughts on Ian Flanagan. He's one of those players that is a cut above part-time football, but will most likely always stay a part-time footballer. Of course he was full-time one point in his career, but it was never to the extent of some other full-time players. He spent a lot of time at part-time clubs and he spent a lot of time at Alloa specifically. As I said, I think he's a class above part-time football, but I don't think he'll be leaving part-time football in the near future. I think he'll stay with Alloa because he's just one of those players that suits Alloa Athletic as a club, and I think that Alloa need him to keep their midfield ticking along. He's one of the players that, if I did have to pick a certain player from a part-time team, he would definitely be in that conversation. So, therefore, I think you can guess what I'm going to say on Ian Flanagan. Aye. Next up, another Scottish Championship central midfield player, on loan to this Scottish Championship club from a Premiership club. Stephen Kelly, Ayr United. Stephen Kelly's one that I did really like at the start of the season, and I never really followed the rest of the season. I think I followed like kind of the first half of the season that Stephen Kelly had, and I was really impressed with him. I really thought he was a great player, and I think, well, I would assume that he's kept up that level of performance for the second half of the season, and he's definitely been one of Ayr's better players this season. They've had a few, and I think Stephen Kelly does come within that mix. So a very shrewd signing by Ian McCall. I believe he was signed on loan to Ayr United after Ayr United played a bounce game or a friendly against Rangers Select 11. Stephen Kelly was playing in that Rangers team and he scored a hat-trick against Ayr, and then a week later he signed for Ayr United on loan. So he basically banged in a load of goals against them and then got his move there on loan. And he's performed well, so it's another one that I'm going to have to say an aye to, because I just think that he is good enough to at least be a Championship midfielder, and if not, possibly a bottom 6 Premiership midfielder. Now the first Rangers first team player that we're going to talk about. I was going to say first Rangers player we're going to talk about, but we did just speak about Let's try that here again. We did just talk about Stephen Kelly, who is a Rangers player. This is the first Rangers first team player we're going to talk about in this series, ALPREDO Morelos, the main man himself. What a random pick for Jenny that was. ALPREDO Morelos is a bit like Marmite, a bit like your Danny Devine for the first episode of this series. You either love or you hate ALPREDO Morelos. You've got to love the fact that he's got quality on the pitch and he can score goals. Obviously the side of his game that everyone doesn't like is his petulance and the fact that he can get booked, sent off, etc, etc. But I think he did sort that out pretty much in the 2019-20 season. I think he had a lower disciplinary record than the previous season, so it seems like he's sorted that out. I think if Rangers do go on to sell him, they'll get good money for him. So on the playing side of things, I have to say that ALPREDO Morelos is an aye. He's one of those players that when you play against him, you hate him. When you have him in your team, it's fantastic. But as a neutral, I'm going to look at it for all sides. I think I'd just be on the side of aye for ALPREDO. Next up, Aberdeen. Andy Considine, or Andrew Considine. Whatever you want to go with. I think I'll probably go with Andrew Considine in the graphic right next to me. But anyway, Andy Considine. He's been a massive stalwart for Aberdeen, and there's no doubt that times would have been very different without Aberdeen having Andrew Considine. There I go again. Andrew, Andy, take your pick, Ben. I think it's over a decade he's been at the club. That's crazy. Andy CONSIDINE, decent enough player. I'm leaning on the edge because I don't really know enough about him to really make an informed decision. I just know that he's been a good stalwart to Aberdeen. And for the commitment, aye. Andy, there you go. Calvin Miller, a very weird one to get suggested for me to talk about. I just think he's pretty irrelevant. He's like, what, Celtic's 35th choice left back. So Calvin Miller for me is a no, just because I really don't care. Sorry, but aye. No, Calvin Miller. Now, Liam Henderson is up next, and I've chosen the Edinburgh City Liam Henderson because even though I think the thought process behind this request was Liam Henderson, the Hibs player, he's not an SPFL player currently, so I'm not going to speak about him, even though I think that's who they meant. So Edinburgh City's Liam Henderson. I'm going to go with, actually, an aye for Edinburgh City's Liam Henderson, because I do think he's one of the gems within lower league football. And like an Ian Flanagan, etc, etc, if I was to choose a player from a part-time club, he would be in the conversation. He's a decent enough quality player, he's got a lot of height, good at corners, he scores a lot for corners as well. I can't really pick out if he's a central midfielder or a central defender. He could probably play both. And I would take him at my club, so Liam Henderson gets an aye. Next up, the first Celtic proper first team player that I'm going to talk about. Again, like the Rangers one, I was going to say first Celtic player we're going to talk about, but we spoke about Calvin Miller, and that's just not right. He's not the first Celtic player we're talking about. Calvin Miller's so far down the pecking order, doesn't even matter. Here we are, Fraser Forster. This one is a straight up aye for me. In my opinion, the best goalkeeper in Scotland. And I don't think I'll ever change my mind on that one until Fraser Forster is no longer a part of Scottish football. I think he's got fantastic amounts of quality and did so in his first spell at Celtic, went away to Southampton, done well enough there, and then came back to Scotland, and he's no looked like out of place at all. So Fraser Forster for me, aye. Now next up, Gregor Buchanan, Falkirk. Bit harsh on your boy Gregor there, but he supports Falkirk. Like, I can't have a warmth to the guy. He played for Dunfermline, punched the badge, and he's a Falkirk fan. I don't get the guy. I don't understand it. And unfortunately for him, I just don't really like him as much anymore. When he was playing for Dunfermline, it was alright, but now that he's went back to Falkirk and he's a proper Falkirk man, Falkirk captain, etc, etc, nah, I'm not having it. So, unfortunately for Gregor, my opinion is a no. Like he gives two about me. Next up, Declan McDaid, Dundee winger. He splits opinion, in my opinion. I don't really think that he offers a hell of a lot on the pitch. I think he's one of those luxury players that you have as part of your team, and he doesn't exactly work his socks off for the team for the full 90 minutes. I think, as I said, he's a luxury player, so you're going to get fits and starts with him. An inconsistent winger, basically. And in my opinion, Declan McDaid is a no. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it as much as I have with other wingers. And finally, REECE, the guy who was on loan at Partick Thistle this season and was pretty much their best player this season. Their most impressive player, for a neutral's opinion, I think. I mean, they were getting pumped 5-0 at East End Park, and then REECE steps up with a 40-yard free kick and just bangs it in like nobody's business. So, in my opinion, REECE can only be an aye. He improved as the season went on. He impressed every time that I saw him. So, I can't really have any other thing to say about REECE than aye at this point. I'm sure Partick Thistle fans will really want him back in their team whenever they can get to play football again. That's it for this video, guys. Cheers for watching. Once again, another episode of Aye or No. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like. Comment down below your thoughts about this series and the players I've spoke about, obviously. Aye or No. And subscribe for more of this type of content. And until the next video, I'll see you then. Cheers, guys.